a missing geologist, a secret kept in the garden, and a wife who spun a chilling lie. Picture this. It's early June 2024. 65-year-old Jeremy Rickards, a respected geologist, vanishes without a trace from his quiet Canterbury home. His phone was topped up on the 8th of June, then silence. No farewell, no goodbye, just an ominous emptiness. Friends watch, baffled. His wife, Maureen, claims he's off to Saudi Arabia on business. But the inbox tells another story, a message from Jeremy's number. But the tone? Not his. It's as if someone else is typing. And here's where the tension inflames. The last time anyone truly saw Jeremy, he looked shaken, bruised, in fear. Soon after, something heavy was lugged down the stairs in the dead of night. So what happened to him? Where did he go? And why does his wife suddenly seem unhinged? This is the mystery that'll grip them from the jump. Stay close, this story only deepens from here. In the quiet days following the 8th of June, Maureen Rickards began crafting a lie. To friends, neighbors, and even family, she claimed her husband Jeremy had suddenly traveled to Saudi Arabia for work. Some were told he had fallen ill there. Others were told he had died. But the truth was far darker. Jeremy never left the country. There were no bookings, no airport footage, no customs records, nothing. It was a ghost story told in real time, and Maureen was the author. Behind the scenes, she wasn't mourning. She was shopping. Using Jeremy's bank card, she visited stores across Canterbury, purchasing bleach, cleaning supplies, and fresh bedding. Her behavior wasn't that of a grieving wife. It was someone covering up a scene. Then came the text messages sent from Jeremy's phone to their daughter, but the words didn't sound like Jeremy. They were clumsy, distant, emotionless. A daughter knows her father's voice even when it's written. She started to ask questions. But Maureen had a plan, a fragile plan, a lie she thought would last forever. What she didn't count on was the smell. By early July, the illusion was starting to crumble. Neighbors began to complain of a foul, sour stench drifting from the Rickards garden. It wasn't the smell of waste or rotting plants. It was heavier, sharper, the kind of smell that makes your stomach twist before your brain can even explain why. One neighbor thought it was a dead animal. Another assumed it was spoiled food. But Maureen, she kept mowing. Each time she cut the grass, the clippings were funneled directly onto one odd spot in the garden, a patch near the fence piled higher and higher with fresh green blades. No one questioned it, not yet, but something wasn't right. Tenants renting the upper floors of the house had started to notice strange behavior. Maureen seemed jumpy, irritable, and late one night someone heard heavy dragging sounds like something solid being pulled across floorboards. Still no Jeremy. Still no sign of travel. It was only a matter of time, and all it took was the wrong gust of wind. On the 11th of July, police finally arrived. Officially, they were following up on a missing person report and financial fraud. Jeremy's bank card had been used repeatedly since his disappearance. But once they stepped into the garden, the case took a sharp turn. The smell hit them instantly. Officers described it as overpowering, even from several meters away. They followed it to the suspicious mound of grass clippings at the edge of the yard. It looked deliberate, too neatly piled, too consistent. Beneath it, they found a large canvas holdall. Inside that bag were multiple layers of black bin liners, and inside the liners was Jeremy, decomposed, crumpled, wrapped in the very garden waste meant to disguise the truth. His body had been there for over 30 days. No burial, no respect, just a crude attempt to hide him in plain sight. The autopsy later revealed that Jeremy had been stabbed multiple times, 2 wounds to the chest, one piercing his heart. But that wasn't all. There were signs of earlier injuries, broken ribs, bruising, even evidence of strangulation. The death wasn't just violent, it was cruel, sustained, personal. And from that moment forward, the lies began to unravel. Jeremy's remains weren't just a grim discovery, they were a silent witness, a forensic roadmap. Experts determined he hadn't died instantly. He'd suffered. Two deep stab wounds had pierced his chest, one of them puncturing his heart. But the story didn't start there. His ribs were fractured. His neck showed signs of compression. Forensic pathologists believed he'd been strangled or at least choked days before the fatal attack. And then came the chilling detail: his body hadn't gone straight into the garden. Blood traces found inside the house told a different story. High up in a bedroom cupboard, police discovered dried blood spatter. Below that, in the hallway, more stains. The layout suggested he'd been killed upstairs, perhaps in the cupboard itself, then dragged down through the house. That matched what one tenant recalled: hearing loud, thumping noises on the night of the 7th of June, something heavy being pulled. Entomologists were called and scientists who analyze insect activity to determine time of death. Their findings were precise. Jeremy had been dead for over a month before police found him, likely killed just hours after he was last seen. And as for the bag, Jeremy's body had been stuffed into it like luggage: plastic liners, then canvas, then buried in clippings. DNA on the tape confirmed it. Maureen had sealed it shut herself. The body didn't just speak, it screamed the truth. But the most damning clue wasn't buried in the garden. It was sitting quietly on Maureen's own phone. When detectives seized her devices, they found something: deeply disturbing videos, recorded over several weeks. In them, Maureen is seen screaming at Jeremy, berating him with insults, threats, and pure venom. In one clip, Jeremy stands silently in a room as Maureen gets in his face. Her voice rises. She calls him names, accuses him of cheating, mocks him for being useless. He doesn't fight back. He just stands there hollow, as if he's been broken down over time. And then it escalates. In one recording, she appears to grab him by the throat, pushing him into a wall. In another, she says the words no detective ever forgets: "I will kill you. I swear to God, I will kill you." They weren't said in a moment of panic. They were repeated, cold, direct, documented. Jeremy had been living in fear, not just for days, but possibly for months, and he knew it. The videos proved the abuse was long standing, and that Jeremy, trapped in his own home, likely knew exactly how this story would end. These weren't outbursts, they were warnings, and Maureen had recorded them herself. Even after Jeremy was dead, Maureen didn't stop controlling the story. She expanded it, wove it, twisted it. She told their daughter that Jeremy had traveled abroad. At one point, she claimed he was in Saudi Arabia, then later that he had died overseas. But every version had gaps: no funeral, no passport scan, no consulate alert. The daughter knew something wasn't right, and then came the texts. Messages sent from Jeremy's number, supposedly from abroad. But the phrasing was off. The emojis, the punctuation, even the spelling, it wasn't him. She'd grown up reading her father's messages, and this wasn't her father. Detectives would later confirm what she feared. The texts had been sent from inside the house, and that wasn't all. Maureen used Jeremy's bank card multiple times after his disappearance. She bought cleaning products, plastic sheeting, air fresheners. Receipts placed her in local stores around the 20th of June. Surveillance cameras caught her walking calmly through aisles alone with a shopping basket. Her behavior was too calm, too methodical, not like someone grieving, not like someone who just lost their husband. She smiled at neighbors. She waved at passing cars. All the while, just feet away, Jeremy's body was decomposing in a bag under the garden clippings. Maureen thought the lie would hold. She underestimated how loud the truth can scream, especially when you try to bury it. As the investigation deepened, police turned their attention to the people living right above the crime scene, the tenants renting rooms in the same house. One tenant remembered something odd on the night of the 7th of June. A loud thud, followed by what sounded like dragging heavy, slow like furniture or something far worse. The noise came from the hallway and staircase just below their room. At the time, they brushed it off, but now it took on a whole new meaning. Another tenant recalled that Maureen had suddenly become overbearing. She warned them not to go near certain areas. The garden, she said, was off limits for a while because she was dealing with something. She also locked doors that were usually left open. There were other signs too. Strange smells. Windows left open all night, even during cold spells. One tenant said she had never seen Jeremy again after early June, but Maureen insisted he had just gone away. The more detectives listened, the clearer it became. The murder hadn't happened in isolation. It happened in a shared space, a house full of witnesses who didn't realize they were seeing a crime scene unfold. Piece by piece, the timeline clicked into place. The noises, the sudden change in behavior, the cover-up. Jeremy didn't vanish. He was silenced just one floor below, and someone somewhere in that house had heard his final moments. By the time the trial began in March of 2025, the evidence against Maureen Rickards was stacked like bricks, cold, heavy, and impossible to ignore. The prosecution laid it all out before the jury. The abusive videos, the threatening audio, the forged texts, the blood spatter trail from the cupboard to the hallway, the shopping receipts for bleach and bin liners. Then came the entomology reports, placing the time of death between early and mid-June. And then they showed the canvas bag, the one from the garden. The jury saw how he had been folded, sealed in plastic, and buried under cut grass like yard waste. But it was Maureen's own voice, captured forever on her phone, that broke the silence of the courtroom. Her threats, her rage, her promise, "I will kill you." Her defense, she claimed Jeremy had died in an accident, that he collapsed after a fall, that she panicked. But the injuries didn't lie. Multiple stab wounds, 2 to the heart, rib fractures, and bruises that told a story of months of abuse. It didn't take long. On the 13th of March, the jury found her guilty of murder. The judge called it a calculated and prolonged act of violence. But before the sentence was handed down, Maureen showed no emotion, no remorse, just silence. The same silence she left in that garden for over a month. On the 9th of April 2025, Maureen Rickards stood before the judge at Canterbury Crown Court for the final time. The courtroom was still, no tears, no excuses, just the weight of everything she had done. The judge didn't hold back. He described the murder as ferocious, not a moment of madness, but a sustained, cruel assault carried out in cold blood. The court heard how Maureen had not only stabbed Jeremy twice in the chest, once piercing his heart, but had also strangled him, fractured his ribs, and left him to die slowly before hiding his body like garbage. And then, after all of it, she had lied, laughed, and lived her life as if nothing had happened. The judge sentenced Maureen Rickards to life in prison with a minimum term of 22 years before she could even apply for release. Outside the courtroom, Jeremy's daughter issued a short statement. She said her father was a kind man, a quiet man, and that he had never deserved the fear, pain, or betrayal he suffered in the last days of his life. The garden where his body was found has since been cleared, But the scars remain not in the soil, but in the silence left behind. A man vanished, a woman lied, and a house full of whispers finally gave up its secrets. Justice, long buried, was finally unearthed,